Singapore Airlines needs no introduction. With its cozy cabins and warm hospitality, it's one of the world's most respected airlines. But here's something that you might not know. It didn't create that winning formula on its own. When Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore's founding statesman, set out to build a national airline, he looked to one specific carrier for inspiration: Air India. Now, I know that might come as a shock. Sure, the two are Star Alliance partners, but their reputations couldn't be more different. Singapore is revered, while Air India is often reviled. But it wasn't always this way. Once upon a time, Air India was the gold standard, but after years of mismanagement, it's been sent into decline. But those days are officially over. With new, energized leadership, the airline wants to do the impossible. Not only do they have a concrete plan to fix their reputation, but they actually aspire to once again be the world's most influential airline. And the craziest part is that they might actually pull it off. Let me explain. Before hopping into it, I want to share a bit about my experience traveling to India. It's an amazing country, but candidly, Delhi can be overwhelming. There are tons of people, constant movement, and just so much going on at once. During my time there, I honestly don't think I could have survived without my phone. It helped me to keep my bearings in this wonderfully chaotic place. And thanks to Saily, today's sponsor, I was able to stay connected the entire time I was there. Saily is a global eSIM app that gives you access to cell coverage in over 190 countries. With Saily, you'll no longer have to deal with shady SIM card dealers or outrageous roaming fees. You just download their app, pick the plan that's right for you, and you're online in seconds. Saily is safe, convenient, and reasonably priced. Even better, Saily is backed by NordVPN, so not only can you stay connected, but you can also stay protected. Saily's become my go-to eSIM provider when I travel. And if you've got a trip coming up, why not save 15% off your data plan when you use my code Kobe at checkout? Thanks again to Saily for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back to it. First, let's talk about Air India's massive potential. India, home to 1.4 billion people, has a rapidly growing economy, fueled by investments in tech, pharma, and manufacturing. And as its economy has grown, so too has demand for travel. It recorded 145 million domestic passengers last year, making it the world's third largest aviation market behind only the US and China. And there remains plenty of room for growth. Its total number of travelers is still relatively low compared to the total population, so it wouldn't be a shock if India someday eclipses these other markets. Now, since Air India is the country's flag carrier, it should see a major boost from that demand. But that's not even the airline's biggest asset. No, the airline also benefits from a huge geographical advantage. Located smack dab between Europe and Asia, India is a natural stopping point for long-haul travel. This strategic placement should allow Air India to serve millions of international travelers. It's really not hard to find examples of other airlines that have benefited from similar circumstance. Qatar and Emirates, for instance, have used their centralized Middle Eastern hubs to elevate both their brands and their home countries. If airlines from such small nations can achieve such an outsized status, imagine the possibilities for Air India. In theory, it should be one of the world's most influential players. But that's just not how things have played out. Air India has really struggled to remain relevant. Within India itself, Indigo has jumped ahead. Not only do they operate far more aircraft, but they also transport a lot more people, carrying twice as many passengers last year. Internationally, the situation is even worse. When Indian nationals go abroad, 70% of them choose to fly Qatar or Emirates. And many people jokingly call Emirates India's unofficial flag carrier. Clearly, Air India has fallen short of its potential. Why? Well, the airline has had some pretty serious problems. It's faced intense scrutiny over uneven service, neglected aircraft, and poor on-time performance. In other words, they've failed to put forth a competitive product. Now, there was a time when things were different. When JRD Tata founded the airline in 1932, it set the standard for service and luxury. But after Indian independence, the carrier was nationalized. And with this new government ownership, it suffered from bureaucratic inefficiencies and alleged nepotism, which hindered its growth. But today, Air India is turning over a new leaf. In 2022, the airline was returned to its original owners, the Tata Group. And if there's any company that can revitalize this beleaguered airline, it's Tata. Among other things, Tata owns Taj Hotels, a globally recognized hospitality brand. They own Jaguar and Land Rover, two of the most storied automotive companies in the world. And they own TCS, a leading IT services firm. Each of these three sectors, hospitality, transportation, and technology, play key roles in the operation of a successful airline. This makes Tata uniquely equipped to steer Air India into the future. And they've wasted absolutely no time getting to work. Soon after taking control, they launched an ambitious 5-year transformation plan, known as Vahan.ai. And by the end of 2024, phase 1 of that plan was complete. Now, undeniably, the biggest undertaking of phase 1 has been a fleet transformation. In the past few years, the airlines bought 570 new aircraft. Now, I know that number sounds crazy, but consider this. At the time of privatization, there were just 43 wide-body aircraft in all of India. On top of that, the nation's narrow-body fleet is far smaller than the likes of China or America. Clearly, way more planes are needed to match demand. But beyond just helping Air India scale with the market, these new aircraft will also help them solve two of their biggest problems. First, they should dramatically improve the customer experience. Under the previous regime, its aircraft suffered from neglect, with infrequent cleaning, broken amenities, and outdated seats. Suffice it to say, this left customers with a pretty bad impression. But these new jets, like the A350 I'm sitting in right now, offer an immediate and drastic improvement. They come equipped with all the creature comforts of modern aircraft. They're quiet, they have cozy mood lighting, and they have huge windows. But here's the thing about buying new jets. They can sometimes act as a crutch. Some airlines are overly reliant on these superficial features, like mood lighting and big windows, to tout an all-new passenger experience. Meanwhile, other core features of the product, like food, IFB, service, and amenities, remain untouched. Crucially, Air India is not falling into this trap. They're leveraging Tata's expertise in hospitality to implement deeper, more consequential changes. But before I dive into those changes, I just wanted to share a quick milestone. I'm coming up on my 5-year anniversary on YouTube. I'm also getting really close to 300,000 subscribers, and I'd love to hit that before the channel's birthday. So if you've made it this far into the video and you're enjoying it, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button to help me get there. I really appreciate it. Okay, now let's talk about the changes that Air India's been making. Some of these changes are small but meaningful. For instance, up in business class, Air India now offers 4 meal options instead of the industry standard of 3. They also boast new cutlery and glassware that both feel premium and distinctly Indian. These Indian motifs extend into the new flight attendant uniforms, giving you a small taste of the country before you even arrive. Some of the other changes are more pronounced, the seat being the most unmissable. When you sit up front, you'll get your own private pod, which not only gives you direct aisle access, but is also beautifully adorned. This seat comes with a genuinely impressive bedding setup, featuring 2 blankets and 2 pillows, one of which doubles as a memory foam mattress topper. Plus, you'll get Tumi branded pajamas for added comfort. The amenity kits continue that balance of luxury and identity, featuring Ferragamo skincare products and subtle nods to Indian heritage. There's also a brand new premium economy cabin, with Air India being the only airline in the country offering this cabin class, and it feels like a proper step up over coach. Even if you're sitting all the way in the back, you'll still benefit from a hugely improved IFE system, featuring large modern touchscreens and over 700 movies. So no matter where you're seated, you're going to feel the difference. For the first time in years, Air India doesn't just have a competitive product, they have a compelling one. And this is creating a level of separation between itself and its domestic competitors. While other airlines like Indigo and SpiceJet are focused on cutting cost to deliver bare-bone fares, Air India is carving out a more premium niche. And as India grows wealthier and more influential, having a prestige airline will be important for its citizens. We're already seeing Indian travelers embrace this more premium setup. For flights between India's major business and economic centers, Delhi, Mumbai, and Bengaluru, Air India's become the market leader by passenger volume. And across their entire network, demand for its premium cabins has more than doubled. Now, I should probably mention that this experience is still the exception and not the norm. This A350 I'm flying on today is one of just 6 in Air India's fleet. Like pretty much every airline out there, Air India has been subject to supply chain issues, which has slowed their fleet renewal. So to help bridge the gap, leadership is committing $400 million to refresh their existing aircraft. Right now, dozens of its existing narrowbodies are undergoing a cabin refresh, which will each feature a 3-class interior. And in April, the airline will start retrofitting 40 of its existing widebodies. These efforts will help stem the tide until fresh aircraft are delivered. And these efforts are working. According to Air India, its NPS score, which is a metric for measuring customer satisfaction, has jumped by 40 points in the past 15 months. Okay, so these aircraft give Air India the chance to rethink the passenger experience. But just as importantly, they also give the airline the opportunity to make real noise in the stopover market. Today, only about 10% of passengers flying with Air India use its hubs as an international transit point, and new management wants that number to be far, far higher. That means it'll need to steal market share from Qatar and Emirates, and that's no easy task. But the diversity of Air India's new fleet gives them a real competitive edge. Not only have they bought a lot of planes, but they've also bought a diverse set. They'll receive jets that can seat as few as 160 passengers and as many as 400, meaning their future fleet will be very nimble and can serve markets of all sizes. In contrast, competitors like Qatar and Emirates are way more reliant on widebodies, making them much less adaptable. This means that Air India has the opportunity to undercut them on price and attract more stopover passengers. But there still remains one big problem preventing Air India from becoming a stopover giant, and it's a problem that new planes just aren't gonna fix. That would be the airline's poor on-time performance. In the years before privatization, Air India consistently ranked as one of the most tardy airlines in the world. Now, there was a whole host of reasons why that was. For instance, until recently, almost all of its operational systems, from bookings to maintenance to catering, were obsolete. On top of that, dozens of its aircraft were grounded in desperate need of maintenance. These kinds of issues made it really hard to keep an efficient schedule. If Air India ever hopes to be a real stopover player, it'll have to dramatically increase its on-time performance. If not, passengers will constantly be missing their connections. With this in mind, let's turn our attention to the other big change that the Han AI has brought about: technology. Since privatization, Air India's invested a cool $200 million into IT upgrades, and almost 100 of its systems have been completely revamped already. This includes things like their booking system, their mobile app, and most critically, their flight scheduling and tracking software, which has helped the airline better prevent and manage delays. So far, early returns have been promising. In Tata's very first year at the helm, its on-time performance jumped by 28%. And last year, Air India saw the best on-time performance improvement amongst all major Indian carriers. Now, the airline's on-time performance sits between 75 and 80%, which is a major improvement. And management seems happy with the progress, so much so that they've actually started to adjust schedules to bring down those layover times. Now, a transit passenger flying Air India will see an average stopover of just 2.5 hours, a figure that's far closer to the competition. Okay, so Air India is trying to rebuild its reputation through a combination of new aircraft and cutting-edge tech. But an airline is about so much more than just planes and infrastructure. It's also about people. Turning Air India into a world-class airline will demand unconditional buy-in from its employees. And frankly, that's easier said than done. With well over 20,000 folks on its payroll, it won't be easy to get that many people to change their habits and mindset. To complicate things further, Air India also just merged with Vistara. Now, Vistara actually has a really positive reputation, and bringing them into the fold should accelerate Air India's revitalization. Well, at least in theory. In practice, it could actually lead to conflict, since Air India and Vistara employees have very different work styles and philosophies. This organizational clashing has haunted other airline mergers in the past. For instance, the United Continental merger became a nightmare for this very reason. Faced with these challenges, Air India is working really hard to break down silos. Since privatization, the airlines consolidated more than 60 separate facilities, many of which were dilapidated, into a single campus, bringing all its corporate employees under one roof. Meanwhile, for its flight crews, it's introduced cross-organizational training. All of this takes place at its new state-of-the-art training center, which is South Asia's largest. And with these strategies, Air India hopes to boost workforce cohesion and help employees better understand each other. It's also hiring at a really aggressive pace. Since 2022, the airline's added 9,000 new employees, including more than 6,000 pilots and cabin crew. This not only injects fresh energy into the operation, but it also helps distribute the workload more evenly. Oh, and this hiring has also made the airline younger. Before privatization, the average Air India employee was 54 years old. Today, it's 35. At the end of the day, Air India still has a lot of work to do. Turning around such a big airline and one with this much baggage was never gonna be easy. But for the first time in decades, the carrier has a clear vision for the future. If they can keep up this early momentum, they won't just reclaim their title as India's premier airline. They can once again become one of the world's greats. So, what do you guys think? Have you flown Air India in recent years? If so, did you notice an improvement? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Thank you so much to my patrons for helping to make this video possible. If you like what I do and want to help the channel grow, go ahead and check out this link right here. And as always, if you learned something new today, leave a like and subscribe to keep learning. And until I see you again, don't forget to look up.